If you don't resign by
regret it.
midnight tonight,
You are
I
in
will
prison
destroy
now. What can we
everything you
do?
love. The words on my phone screen glowed in the darkness of my bedroom at 2:30 in the morning. My hands trembled as I read the message again. This was the 15th threatened text I'd received this week, and I knew exactly who was sending them. Karen Mitchell had declared war on me the moment I'd asked her to follow our community rules. But I had no idea just how far she would go to silence me.
If she didn't comply.
My name is Barbara Chen.
That's exactly right.
And I've been the president of Riverside Meadows Homeowners Association for 3 years. I'm 42 years old,
didn't do
a high
anything.
school history teacher, and a mother of 2 teenagers. I ran for HOA president because I believed in our community. Riverside Meadows is a planned community of 230 homes, built about 12 years ago around a man-made lake. Everything was peaceful until Karen moved in. Karen Mitchell arrived about 18 months ago, purchasing the Hendersons' old house. From day one, she made it clear that rules didn't apply to her. Our covenants are reasonable. Keep your property maintained. No commercial vehicles overnight. Quiet hours after 10 p.m. Approval for major exterior changes. Simple stuff. Most residents have no problem with this. But Karen, she took personal offense to every rule. It started small. Within her first month, she painted her front door bright neon purple without approval. When I knocked to explain the process, she laughed in my face. I paid $600,000 for this house, she said, arms crossed. I'll paint it any color I want. What are you going to do, Barbara? Send me a strongly worded letter. I stayed calm. The architectural review ensures changes fit the neighborhood aesthetic. Most requests are approved. We just need proper channels. Proper channels, she mocked. I work in pharmaceutical sales and make more in a month than you make all year as a teacher. I don't need permission from some wannabe dictator with a clipboard. I felt my face flush. The form takes 10 minutes. I can help if needed. Here's what's happening, she sneered. I'm keeping my purple door. If you don't like it, take me to court. She slammed the door. In 3 years as president, I've never encountered such hostility. The purple door was just the beginning. Karen violated virtually every rule. She started a plant nursery business from her garage with constant customer traffic. She parked her commercial cargo van in the driveway, blocking the sidewalk. She installed a massive satellite dish without approval. She built an oversized shed in her backyard. Each time, I sent polite notices. Each time, she ignored them. The board offered compromises and extensions. Nothing worked. Karen viewed rules as suggestions. The situation exploded 4 months ago at our quarterly HOA meeting. Usually, 20 residents attend, but word spread about Karen's violations, and over 80 people packed the community center. I stood at the podium, looking at concerned faces. Karen sat front row, arms crossed, smug. I took a deep breath. We're addressing ongoing violations at 2314 Maple Ridge Drive. Mrs. Mitchell received 14 written notices over 16 months. Despite numerous attempts to work with her, violations continue. The board voted to impose fines per our covenant, starting at $50 per violation daily until compliance. The room erupted. Some clapped, supporting the decision. Others murmured nervously. Karen stood up, face red with rage. "You can't do this," she shouted, pointing at me. "This is harassment. I'm being singled out." I remained calm. You're not singled out. Every resident follows the same standards. We've given you 16 months. Fines are a last resort. Last resort. She laughed bitterly. You haven't seen what a last resort looks like. No, people, I have resources. I will fight this and win. And when, Edo, I'm coming for you. You'll regret ever knocking on my door.
The exchange at 0400 hours. The codes were compromised then.
My board secretary, David Park,
Deploy
stopped
every
writing,
asset to track those
looking
accounts
concerned.
immediately.
But I held her gaze. Fines begin tomorrow, I said quietly. Meeting adjourned. That was 4 months ago. Karen kept her promise. The harassment started immediately. She filed a false complaint with the county claiming I violated building codes. An inspector found nothing wrong. Then she filed an ethics complaint with my school district, claiming I was inappropriate with students. A full investigation followed. After 6 weeks, I was exonerated, but the stress was crushing. Karen spread rumors online through fake accounts, claiming I embezzled HOA funds, had an affair with David, and had a drinking problem. Non è vero true, but damage was done. People avoided me at stores. Parents at my kids' school whispered.
What happened in that back room was
illegal.
Suffered.
My husband,
they
Mark,
threatened my client
an engineer,
if she didn't comply.
got strange calls at work with false complaints. Someone claiming to be from a client company called his supervisor, saying Mark had missed important deadlines and been rude during meetings. None of it was true, but it created awkward conversations and put his reputation at risk. He'd come home exhausted from defending himself against accusations that had no basis in reality. My daughter, Emma, 16, came home crying because someone had created a fake Instagram account using her photos with cruel captions. We got it taken down, but damage was done. Kids at school whispered. She became withdrawn and anxious. My son Jake, 14, got into a fight defending me when another kid repeated lies about the corrupt HOA president. He came home with a black eye and a suspension. "Mom, they were saying terrible things about you," he said with tears in his eyes. "I couldn't just let them." That broke my heart. Mark and I had long conversations about whether it was worth it. "Maybe we should just move," Mark said one night, holding my hand in the darkness of our bedroom. "Start over somewhere else. Let Karen have her victory. Is this really worth what it's doing to our kids?" I understood his perspective. Part of me wanted to run, to escape this nightmare. But another part of me knew that if we ran, Karen would just do this to someone else. She'd move to another community, target another family, destroy more lives. The cycle would continue unless someone stopped her. I knew it was Karen behind all of it. She never left direct evidence, never put anything in writing that could be traced back to her. But those late-night texts from burner phones confirmed it. And there were other signs. Neighbors reported seeing her driving slowly past our house at odd hours. One of Tom's contacts found that several of the fake social media accounts spreading rumors about me had been created using IP addresses from coffee shops near Karen's pharmaceutical sales territory. She was careful, but not perfect. The HOA board stood by me, but faced their own attacks. David received threats. Our treasurer, Michelle Santos, found slashed tires. Our committee chairman, Robert Martinez, had someone file a false police report claiming he dealt drugs. Karen systematically targeted everyone supporting the fines. I thought about quitting daily, but then I'd think about families counting on us to maintain standards. The Johnsons, who saved 30 years for their dream home. Young families with small children who chose this safe neighborhood. My own kids. And what lesson I'd teach by letting a bully win. So I decided to fight back. But I had to be smarter. I couldn't sink to her level.
Things work.
I had to use surprising tactics she wouldn't expect.
I didn't do
Document
anything.
everything. Build an airtight case. Stay within the law. First, I hired private investigator Tom Reynolds, a retired detective. I paid $3,000 from personal savings to investigate Karen's background and activities. Mark supported the decision despite the cost. "Fight smart," he said, hugging me in our kitchen. "Just be careful. This woman is dangerous."
You need to retract that statement
He was
immediately.
right, but I was determined.
Anything. You are
Tom returned 2
completely
weeks
out of line
later
here.
with shocking findings. Karen wasn't just a difficult neighbor. She was a professional scammer. Over 12 years, she'd lived in 7 states, always in HOA communities, always causing problems. In 3 communities, she sued HOAs and received settlements. In 2 orders, she filed bankruptcy before HOAs could collect fines, then sold and moved on. She had a system. "She's done this before," Tom said at a coffee shop, sliding his report across. "Multiple times. She finds HOA communities, pushes boundaries until they react, plays victim. She's made hundreds of thousands in settlements and avoided over 200,000 in legitimate fines through strategic bankruptcy." My heart raced reading his findings. The pattern was clear. In Colorado, she'd received $85,000. In Arizona, $62,000. In Nevada, the HOA president personally paid her $48,000 to drop a lawsuit. Each time, she'd cause chaos, collect money, and disappear. "She's doing the same to us," I said, my voice shaking. "Exactly," Tom nodded. "She expected you to back down by now. Most boards do under this harassment, but you haven't. So, she's escalating. Barbara, be careful. Based on her history, she's making one big move soon. Something forcing you to resign or settle. I think I know what." "What?" I dreaded the answer. "She sue you personally, not just the HOA. She claimed your actions caused emotional distress, damaged her reputation, violated her civil rights. She demanded $500,000 to $1 million. She won't win, but legal costs alone would bankrupt you. She knows it." I felt sick. "Can she do that?" "She's done it twice," Tom said grimly. "Both times, HOA presidents settled personally to make it go away. One paid $75,000. Another paid $50,000. She's betting you'll do the same. Most people can't afford to fight $1 million lawsuit, even if they're innocent. The stress alone destroys them. That's her strategy." I looked at the thick file Tom had compiled. Statements from former neighbors, court documents, financial records. A complete picture of a woman who had turned HOA harassment into a lucrative career. "There's more," Tom continued. "In Oregon, an HOA president who fought back had a nervous breakdown. Karen escalated so severely, targeting his elderly mother, that he resigned and moved out of state. She sold her house 2 months later.
Footage confirms the
She's
exchange
ruthless.
at 0400
Barbara.
hours. The codes were
I
compromised.
processed this
That's
silently.
unacceptable. Deploy
Karen
every
had
asset
it all
to track those
planned.
accounts
She was a
immediately.
professional bully, a predator targeting community leaders for profit. Well, I had news for her. I wasn't becoming another victim. But I had to be smart. I couldn't expose her publicly without solid evidence and legal strategy. One wrong move, she'd claim harassment and use it against me. I needed a plan. Over 3 weeks, Tom continued investigating.
I regret it.
He found former neighbors
You are
willing to
in
talk
prison
about
now.
their
What can we
experiences.
do?
He documented her pattern across states. He found evidence that some harassment tactics, like the fake ethics complaint, could be criminal. I shared Tom's findings with our HOA attorney, Patricia Hoffman. Patricia was sharp, experienced, fearless. She reviewed everything carefully. "This is good," she finally said. "Very good. We can use this, but we
What
need
happened in that back room was
strategic
illegal.
timing.
They
Karen
threatened
will
my
make her
client if
move
she didn't
soon.
comply.
When said us, we
That's
count her
exactly
immediately." "This is good," she finally said. "Very good. We can use this, but we need strategic timing. Karen will make her move soon. When she does, we counter immediately." "What do you suggest?" I asked. Patricia smiled dangerously. "We let her sue you. Then we destroy your case so thoroughly she'll never try this scam again." My stomach dropped. "Let her sue me." "Patricia, I can't afford the HOA, covers your legal costs," Patricia interrupted. "It's in our bylaws. The HOA indemnifies board members acting in good faith with an official capacity. You were. We'll defend you. More importantly, on say she sues, she opens herself to discovery. We'll subpoena her financial records, communications, everything. We'll expose her entire pattern, then we countersue for fraud, abuse of process, and covenant violation. She won't see it coming." Hope sparked for the first time in months. "You really think this works?" "I know it will," Patricia said confidently. "But you must withstand the initial shock of being sued. It'll be scary and stressful. Can you handle it?" I thought about my family, my community, and future HOA leaders facing people like Karen. Someone had to stand up. Someone had to show their tactics wouldn't work forever. "Yes," I said firmly. "I can handle it." Patricia nodded approvingly. "Good. We wait for her next move and spring our trap." We didn't wait long. 3 days later, I was served. Karen Mitchell versus Barbara Chen, individually. She sued for $1.2 million, claiming defamation, harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and civil rights violations. The lawsuit was 53 pages of lies and exaggerations. My hands shook reading it, even expecting it, even knowing Patricia had a plan. Seeing my name on that lawsuit terrified me. Mark held me as I cried that night. My kids hugged me, scared and confused. But next morning, I dried my tears, called Patricia, and said 6 words changing everything. Let's take this woman down. Patricia worked immediately. She filed our response, denying Karen's claims, and filing a counterclaim for Karen's unpaid fines, now accumulated to over $37,000. More importantly, she filed 4 expedited discovery, requesting all Karen's financial records, emails, texts, and information about prior residences and legal history.
This isn't how
Karen's
things
attorney
work.
tried
Be
blocking
careful
it.
what you
Patricia
do.
was relentless.
I didn't do
She
anything.
argued to the judge that Karen's entire legal history was relevant, showing a pattern. The judge agreed and ordered Karen to comply with discovery within 30 days. I imagined Karen's reaction receiving that order. Her scam was about to be exposed in open court. All previous settlements, bankruptcies, harassment campaigns against other HOA leaders would become public
That is
record. But
completely
Karen
unacceptable.
wasn't
You
done
need to
fighting.
retract that
2 weeks
statement
after being
immediately.
ordered to
I am
comply,
not retracting
I received
anything.
another threatening
You are
message.
completely out of line here.
Different, more desperate. You're making a terrible mistake, it read. Drop your counterclaim, and I'll drop my lawsuit. This is your last chance. After this, things get much, much worse. I showed Patricia. She smiled that dangerous smile again. She's scared. She knows we've got her. Don't respond. Don't engage. Let her wonder what we're doing next. So I didn't respond, and I waited. What happened next? I never could have predicted. Karen made a move so bold, so trajeos, it would shock not just me, but the entire community. And it would force me to use the most surprising tactic of all. But that's a story for the next chapter. Let me just say this. If you think filing a frivolous lawsuit was the worst Karen could do, you haven't seen anything yet. Because 3 days after that threatening message, something happened that would turn this entire situation upside down and push me to make a decision that would either save everything or destroy it all. What would you do if a neighbor was harassing you and your family like this? Would you fight back or walk away? Drop a comment below and let me know. Because trust me, this story is just getting started. 3 days after Karen's desperate last chance message, I woke up to my phone exploding with notifications, text messages, emails, calls from neighbors, even a voicemail from a local news reporter. My heart pounded as I scrolled through them, trying to understand what was happening. Then primera sa. W. Italiano. A link to a local news website with a headline that made my blood run cold. Local teacher accused of HOA tyranny and discrimination. I clicked the link with trembling fingers. There was Karen, standing in front of her house with tears streaming down her face, being interviewed by Channel 7 News. I've been harassed and bullied by Barbara Chen for over a year, Karen sobbed, dabbing at her eyes. All because I'm a single woman in what I thought was a welcoming community. She's filed false complaints, spread rumors, and now she's trying to bankrupt me with frivolous fines. I think it's because she doesn't like that I'm successful and independent. The reporter nodded sympathetically. Mrs. Mitchell claims she's been fined over $37,000 for minor violations that other residents commit without consequences. My phone rang. Patricia, our HOA attorney. Barbara, have you seen the news? Patricia asked. I'm watching it now, I said, voice shaking. This is exactly what I expected. She's trying to win in the court of public opinion. Don't respond. Don't comment. Let her dig her hole deeper.
Footage confirms the exchange at 0400
We
hours.
have
The codes were
documentation.
compromised then.
The truth
That's
will come out.
unacceptable. Deploy
But
every
it was
asset
hard
to
when my
track those
phone wouldn't
accounts
stop
immediately.
ringing. Reporters wanted my side. Neighbors texted, asking if it was true. Parents from school were sharing the story. My principal called. The worst part was online comments, hundreds of strangers calling me names, saying I was on a power trip, claiming HOA presidents were tyrants. Some demanded I be fired from my teaching job.
I regret it.
Mark found
You
me
are in
crying in
prison
our
now.
bedroom
What can
that
we do?
afternoon. They believe her, I said. Everyone believes her. He held me tight. Not everyone. Our neighbors know you. The people who matter know the truth. But what if they don't? I wiped my eyes. What if this destroys everything? My job, our reputation, our kids' lives here. Then we'll deal with it, Mark said firmly.
What happened in
But
that
Barbara,
back room was illegal.
You can't give up now.
They threatened my
You're
client
doing
if
the
she
right
didn't
thing.
comply.
Karen is counting
That's
on
exactly
you.
right.
Breaking, don't give her that satisfaction. He was right. I couldn't let Karen's media stunt break me. I had to trust Patricia's strategy and stay the course. The next day, the HOA emergency board meeting was called. Everyone looked exhausted. Half the neighborhood thinks we're monsters. Michelle sighed. Someone yelled at me at Target yesterday. We need to issue a statement, Robert suggested. Patricia, who joined us, shook her head. That's what Karen wants. We stay silent publicly and let the legal process work. In 2 weeks, discovery begins. That's when everything changes. 2 weeks, David asked. Can we survive 2 more weeks? You can, Patricia said confidently, because I'm filing motions that will put Karen on the defensive, and Tom's investigation uncovered something big. We leaned forward. What is it? I asked. Patricia smiled. Tom found Karen's ex-husband. Richard Mitchell has been looking for her for 2 years. She owes him over $120,000 from their divorce settlement. She disappeared before the court could enforce the judgment. Richard is willing to testify about her pattern of fraud. My jaw dropped. She's running from her ex-husband too. Not just running, Tom said, entering with a thick folder. She's violated multiple court orders. There's an active warrant in Texas for her arrest. The moment authorities know where she is, they can extradite her. The board members exchanged glances. There's more, Tom continued. I spoke with 3 former neighbors from her previous communities. All 3 will testify about her identical pattern. Move in, violate rules, provoke the HOA, claim victim status, sue or settle, disappear. One man from Colorado kept detailed records, videos, recordings, documents. He wants to help you nail her. I felt hope surging for the first time since seeing that news story. Can we use all of this? Absolutely, Patricia confirmed. In Discovery, we introduce all of it. Karen opened this door when she sued you personally. Now we show a judge exactly who she is. Here's the surprising tactic. We're going on a fence, multiple fronts simultaneously. She pulled out documents. First, I'm filing a motion to compel Karen to produce all financial records from 10 years, including tax returns, bank statements, and settlements. Second, I'm filing to depose Richard Mitchell and former neighbors. Third, I'm contacting the Texas District Attorney about the warrant. Wait, I interrupted.
This isn't how things work.
You're
Be careful
having
what you
her
do.
arrested?
I didn't do
Not
anything.
exactly, Patricia clarified. I'm letting her attorney know we're aware of the warrant and in contact with Texas authorities. That puts enormous pressure on her. She either drop her lawsuit and flee or stay and face multiple legal problems. Either way, we win. Robert whistled low. That's aggressive. Karen has been aggressive, Patricia
That is
replied.
completely
She's harassed you,
unacceptable. You need to
filed
retract that
false
statement
reports,
immediately. I am not
manipulated the
retracting
media.
anything. You are
It's
completely
time
out of
she
line
faced
here.
consequences. And once we file these motions, they become public record. The same reporters who gave Karen a platform will have access to documents showing she's a professional scammer with warrants. The narrative changes completely. I felt like I could breathe. When do we start? Tomorrow, Patricia said. By noon, Karen's attorney will be scrambling. By week's end, the media will have a different story. That night, I documented everything. Every threatening text, every fake post, every false complaint. A timeline of 4 months of harassment. Pages of evidence showing systematic attempts to destroy me and my family. The next morning, Patricia filed all motions. By 10 a.m., she called. Karen's attorney just called. He sounds panicked. He had no idea about the warrant, the ex-husband, or her history. He's asking for settlement discussions. Already. I was shocked. Karen knows she's caught, Patricia explained. She's trying to cut losses. But here's our surprising tactic. We're not settling. We're taking this all the way. We're getting a judgment that follows her everywhere. We're exposing her so thoroughly she'll never run this scam again. What if she just runs like before? Let her try, Patricia said confidently. I've filed a motion to freeze her assets. If she tries selling her house or withdrawing money, we'll know she's trapped. For the first time, she can't walk away. Over the next week, everything Patricia predicted came true. The court granted extensive discovery. Karen had to produce 10 years of financial records. Richard Mitchell was approved as a witness. Former neighbors were and the local media got wind of the story. The same reporter who'd interviewed Karen showed up at an HOA meeting with cameras. She'd done her homework. Senora Chen, we've learned Karen Mitchell has a history of similar lawsuits in multiple states, and there's an active warrant for her arrest in Texas. Can you comment? I looked at the camera.com and composed. I can't comment on ongoing litigation, but I can say Riverside Meadows HOA has always tried working cooperatively with all residents. We have documentation of every interaction and look forward to presenting facts in court. Simple, professional. Just facts. The reporter turned to the camera. Channel 7 obtained court documents showing Mrs. Mitchell has been involved in similar disputes in Colorado, Arizona, Nevada, and Oregon, receiving settlements totaling over $300,000. Legal experts say this pattern may indicate systematic fraud. Mrs. Mitchell could not be reached for comment. The narrative shifted.
That's unacceptable.
Within
Deploy every
days,
asset to track
online
those accounts
comments
immediately.
changed. People who'd called me a tyrant apologized. Neighbors started offering support. My principal called to say she was proud of how I'd handled things. But Karen wasn't done. 3 days after the news story, she escalated again. This time, she crossed a line that changed everything. I arrived home from school to find police cars in my driveway. My heart stopped.
I regret it.
Mark met me. His
You are
face
in
pale.
prison now. What can we do?
What happened? I asked frantically. Where are the kids? They're fine. They're at Emma's friend's house. Mark said quickly. Barbara, Karen called 911 and reported that you threatened to kill her. She claimed you showed up at her house with a weapon. The police had to investigate. I felt like the world was spinning. That's insane. I was at school all day. I have dozens of witnesses.
What happened in that back room was
My students,
illegal.
other
They
teachers,
threatened my client
everyone
if she
saw
didn't
me.
comply.
A police officer approached
That's
us.
exactly right.
Miss Chun, I'm Officer Rodriguez. We've already verified your alibi. Your principal confirmed you were teaching until 3:15 p.m. We reviewed security footage from your school, showing you never left the building. You're completely in the clear, but I need to inform you that filing a false police report is a serious crime. Would you like to press charges against Mrs. Mitchell? I looked at Patricia, who had arrived within minutes of the police. She nodded firmly, her expression serious. Yes, I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. I want to press charges. This has gone too far. She's now wasting police resources and could have gotten me hurt or killed by making false claims about weapons and death. Threats. Officer Rodriguez nodded approvingly. We agree. This is the third false report we've investigated involving Mrs. Mitchell in the past month. The first one claimed her neighbor was running a drug operation. The second claimed someone vandalized her property, but our investigation showed she damaged it herself for the insurance claim. And now this, we're going to have a very serious conversation with her about criminal charges. As the police left, Patricia pulled me aside, her eyes bright with determination. This is it. Barbara, this is the move that's going to end her permanently. Filing a false police report about death threats is a criminal offense, and it's not a minor one. Combined with the warrant from Texas, her history of fraud across multiple states, and all our meticulously documented evidence, we have her cornered. She's going to face criminal charges on top of the civil lawsuit. Her scam days are over. Why would she do something so stupid? I asked, still trying to process what had just happened. She had to know they'd check my alibi, that they'd verify where I was. Why would she lie about something so easily disproven? Patricia shook her head, a grim expression on her face. Because she's desperate. Her usual tactics aren't working anymore. You haven't backed down, haven't settled, haven't run away like all the others. She's making catastrophic mistakes because she's panicking, and desperate people do desperate, irrational things. She's losing control of the situation, and it's making her sloppy. That night, as I lay in bed unable to sleep, I thought about everything that had happened over these intense months. 4 months ago, I was just a teacher and an HOA president trying to do the right thing for my community. Now I was in the middle of a complex legal battle that involved multiple states, criminal charges, media attention, and personal attacks on my family. It was overwhelming and exhausting, physically and emotionally draining in ways I'd never experienced before. But I also felt something else.
I didn't do anything.
Determination. The knowledge that standing up to bullies, even when it was hard, even when it hurt, was the right thing to do. Mark rolled over and took my hand in the darkness. "You okay?" "Yeah," I said. "I think I am. For the first time in months, I think we're actually going to win this. You're amazing. You know that."
That is completely unacceptable.
He said softly. "Not everyone would have fought like this."
I am not retracting anything.
I smiled in the darkness.
You are completely out of line here.
I had good backup. "You, the kids, the board, Patricia, Tom. I couldn't have done this alone." The next morning, I got a call from Officer Rodriguez. "Miss Chun, I thought you should know. We went to Karen Mitchell's house last night to discuss the false police report. She wasn't home. Her car was gone. We drove by this morning, and there's a for sale sign in the yard. I think she's running." I immediately called Patricia. "She's fleeing. What do we do?" "We were ready for this," Patricia said calmly. "Remember the asset freeze? If she tries to sell that house without satisfying the liens and judgments against it, the sale won't go through. And I've already alerted Texas authorities about her location. They're processing extradition paperwork now. She can run, but she can't hide anymore." Over the next 48 hours, things moved fast. Karen's house went on the market for $595,000. Multiple buyers showed interest, but when their attorneys ran title searches, they found liens from the HOA, the pending lawsuit, and notices from Texas regarding the outstanding judgment owed to Richard Mitchell. No one would buy the house with that much legal trouble attached. Karen tried to withdraw money from her bank accounts. The freeze stopped her. She tried to transfer the title of her house to a shell company. The court blocked it. Every escape route she'd used before was closed. And then, 5 days after she'd filed the false police report, the police knocked on her door with extradition papers. Karen Mitchell was going back to Texas to face contempt charges for the money she owed her ex-husband. I wasn't there when they arrested her, but Tom was. He'd been keeping surveillance on her house, documenting everything. He sent me a photo of Karen being led to a police car in handcuffs, her face red with rage, shouting at the officers. It should have felt like victory. But instead, I just felt tired. Relieved, but tired. Patricia called that afternoon with an update. Karen's attorney has withdrawn from her case. He filed a motion to withdraw as counsel, citing irreconcilable differences with his client. Translation: she lied to him, and he wants nothing to do with her. We now have an uncontested counterclaim for $37,000 in unpaid fines, plus our legal costs, which are approaching $25,000. The judge will rule in our favor by default. What happens to her lawsuit against me? I asked. Dismissed, Patricia said with satisfaction. Without an attorney and without Karen present to prosecute the case, it's dead. You're free and clear. Barbara,
Footage confirmed
it's over.
the exchange at 0400
But even
hours.
as Patricia
Codes
said
were
those
compromised
words,
then.
That's
I
unacceptable.
knew it wasn't quite
Deploy
over.
every asset to track
Because
those
Karen
accounts
still
immediately.
had one more card to play, and she was about to use it in a way that would test everything I'd learned about fighting back. Have you ever dealt with someone who just wouldn't stop fighting, even when they'd clearly lost? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments, because Karen's final move was something no one saw coming. The news of Karen's arrest should have been the end of the story. She was in custody,
I regret it.
facing extradition to Texas for contempt of court
What can we
charges.
do?
Her lawsuit against me was dismissed. The HOA was awarded a judgment for $37,000 in unpaid fines. We'd won, but as Patricia had warned me at the end of our last conversation, Karen still had one more card to play. And what she did next would prove that even from behind bars, she was more dangerous than I'd ever imagined. It started 48 hours after her arrest. I was at school, teaching my third period American history class about the Constitutional Convention when my phone started buzzing in my desk drawer. I ignored it, as I always did during class. But then the classroom phone rang. The school secretary's voice was urgent. "Barbara, you need to come to the office immediately. There's an emergency." My heart dropped. I thought something had happened to Mark, or the kids. I asked a teacher next door to watch my class and rushed to the office. The principal, Dr. Morrison, was waiting with a grave expression and two people I didn't recognize. "Barbara, these are FBI agents," Dr. Morrison said quietly. "They need to speak with you, FBI." My mind said, what could they want with me? Agent Sarah Chun and Agent Michael Torres introduced themselves and asked to speak privately. In Dr. Morrison's office, they showed badges and sat down. "Ms. Chun, we're investigating Karen Mitchell," Agent Torres began. "We understand you've been in a legal dispute with her." "Yes," I said carefully. "She sued me, but the case was dismissed. She was arrested 2 days ago." Agent Chun nodded. "We're aware. While in custody, Mrs. Mitchell made serious allegations. She claims you and your HOA board have been involved in embezzlement, wire fraud, and racketeering. She's provided what appears to be documentation." My blood ran cold. "That's insane." "That's completely false. We have audited financial records. Everything is transparent and legal." "We believe you," AG Chun said, her tone softer, "but we're required to investigate federal crime allegations. Mrs. Mitchell has been thorough. She's produced altered bank statements, forged emails, and fabricated documents that appear to show We need to examine your actual records to clear this up." I felt rage building. Aben from Heil Karen was still attacking me. She's fabricating evidence? Isn't that a crime? It absolutely is, Agent Torres confirmed. If our investigation confirms that, she'll face additional federal charges. Right now, we need your cooperation. Can you provide your HOA's financial records, board minutes, and banking information? Of course, I said immediately. Everything is documented and audited. The agents left. Dr. Morrison looked concerned. "Barbara, do you need the rest of the day off?" "No," I said, though shaking. "I need to call our attorney, but I'll finish my classes. The kids need normalcy." I somehow made it through the rest of the school day, though I don't remember much of what I taught. The moment the final bell rang, I called Patricia. "She's escalating from jail,"
This isn't
Patricia
how
said
things
when
work.
I explained
Be
about the
careful what
FBI
you
visit.
do.
"This is actually
I
good
didn't
for
do
us.
anything.
Barbara, every false claim she makes, every piece of forged evidence, adds to the criminal case against her. Let the FBI investigate. They'll find that your records are clean, and Karen will have committed federal crimes. She's digging herself deeper." "But Patricia, the FBI," I said, my voice breaking. "They're investigating me.
That is
What if someone
completely
believes her
unacceptable.
lies?
You need to
What if
retract that
something
statement
gets
immediately.
twisted?"
I am
"Barbara,
not retracting anything.
listen to
You are
me,"
completely
Patricia
out of
said
line
firmly.
here.
"You have nothing to hide. Your HOA has been audited multiple times. Your records are impeccable. The FBI agents already told you they believe you. This is just procedure. Karen is desperate and making her situation worse. Over the next week, the FBI conducted their investigation. They interviewed me, David, Michelle, Robert, and our HOA accountant. They examined 5 years of financial records, bank statements, and meeting minutes. They reviewed every check, every expense, every assessment collected. It was exhausting and stressful, but everyone cooperated fully. Meanwhile, Tom continued investigating Karen's activities from jail. What he discovered was shocking. Karen hadn't just contacted the FBI. She'd also filed complaints with the IRS claiming the HOA wasn't paying proper taxes. She'd contacted the state attorney general alleging consumer fraud. She'd even reached out to a local investigative journalist, feeding him the same false information about embezzlement and corruption. She's conducting a coordinated campaign from her jail cell, Tom reported during an emergency board meeting. She has someone on the outside helping her, probably a friend or relative. They're filing complaints, sending documents, and spreading these lies everywhere they can think of. Can we stop them? Michelle asked. She looked exhausted. We all did. We can, and we will, Patricia answered. But here's where we use another surprising tactic. Instead of just defending against each false accusation individually, we're going to gather all of them together and file a massive federal lawsuit against Karen for malicious prosecution, abuse of process, and defamation. Every false claim she's made is documented. Every agency she's contacted. Every lie she's told. We're building a case that will result in a judgment so large, she'll never recover from it financially. How large are we talking? David asked. I'm recommending we seek $5 million in damages. Patricia sighed. $1 million for emotional distress, $1 million for reputational harm, $1 million for legal costs, and $2 million in punitive damages to send a message that this behavior has consequences. And here's the best part. Unlike her previous scams where she sued HOAs, and they settled to avoid costs, we're going to take this to trial. We're going to put her pattern of fraud on public record. We're going to make sure that anyone who searches her name online finds the truth. The board voted unanimously to proceed with the lawsuit, but filing the lawsuit was just the beginning of our counterattack. Patricia had more tactics up her sleeve. Barbara, I need you to do something that might seem strange, Patricia said after the meeting. I want you to write a detailed account of everything Karen has done. Every harassment incident, every false claim, every threatening message. I want you to create a website documenting this entire saga. With evidence, with court documents, with media coverage. Everything public record? I was surprised. A website. Why? Because right now, if someone searches your name, they might find Karen's false accusations, Patricia explained. We need to control the narrative. We need the truth to be easily accessible. And we need other potential victims to be able to find information about Karen's scams. This website will serve multiple purposes. It protects your reputation, warns others, and creates a permanent public record. It took me 2 weeks to build the website. Mark helped with the technical aspects. I called it The Truth About Karen Mitchell and documented everything chronologically. I included copies of court documents showing her pattern of lawsuits across multiple states. I included statements from former neighbors. I included news coverage showing her arrest. I included the FBI's eventual statement, clearing the HOA of any wrongdoing. Everything was factual. Everything was documented. Everything was provable. When the website went live, the response was immediate. Within 24 hours, I received emails from 6 other people across the country who had been victimized by Karen's scams. One was an HOA president in Florida who had paid her $30,000 to settle a lawsuit 3 years ago. Another was a property manager in Montana who had quit his job after Karen's harassment campaign against him. Each had a similar story. Each had documentation. Each wanted to help. Tom compiled all of their statements and evidence. Patricia added them to our federal lawsuit. What had started as my personal battle against a neighborhood bully had become a class action case exposing a nationwide scam operation. The judge assigned to our case was the Honorable Margaret Williams, a no-nonsense former prosecutor known for being tough on fraud. When she saw the scope of Karen's activities, she made a surprising ruling. She ordered Karen to remain in custody without bail pending trial, citing her as a flight risk with a demonstrated pattern of fleeing jurisdiction when facing legal consequences. Karen's public defender tried to argue that she should be released, but Judge Williams was unmoved. Your client has lived in 7 states over 12 years, filed bankruptcy twice to avoid judgments, fled Texas with an outstanding court order, and is now facing federal charges for filing false reports and forging documents. She's not going anywhere except a courtroom. The media coverage intensified. Local news became regional news. Regional news became national news. Suddenly, Karen Mitchell wasn't just my problem. She was a cautionary tale about HOA scams, about professional fraud, about how one person's greed and manipulation had harmed dozens of families across the country. I was interviewed by 3 different news outlets. Each time, I kept my message simple and consistent. I'm grateful that the truth has come out. This was never about a personal dispute. It was about protecting our community and holding someone accountable for a pattern of harmful behavior. I hope our experience helps other communities recognize and stop similar scams. My students at school saw the news coverage. Many of them asked me about it. I used it as a teaching moment about the importance of standing up for what's right, even when it's difficult, about how our constitutional system provides protections and remedies when people act unlawfully, about civic responsibility
Be careful what
and
you
community leadership.
I didn't do anything.
Emma and Jake were proud of me, though they'd been through hell during the worst of Karen's harassment. "Mom, you're kind of famous," Jake said one night at dinner, showing me his phone where our local news story had been shared thousands of times on social media. Not the kind of fame I wanted. I laughed, but if it helps other people, then maybe it was worth it. Mark squeezed my
That is
hand.
completely
"You did
unacceptable.
good,
You need to
Barbara.
retract that statement immediately.
You stood
I
up to
am
a
not
bully,
retracting
and you
anything.
won.
You are completely out
But
of
even
line
with
here.
all our victories, I knew the battle wasn't completely over. Karen was in jail awaiting trial. The FBI had cleared me of all her false allegations. Multiple lawsuits were pending against her. Her scam had been exposed nationally. But Patricia had warned me that the actual trial could take months, and Karen's public defender might try various legal tactics to delay or complicate things. What I didn't expect was Karen's next move. It came on a Tuesday morning, exactly 3 weeks before our trial was scheduled to begin. I received a certified letter at my home. Inside was a handwritten note from Karen. "Barbara, I'm writing to you directly because you're the only one who might understand. I'm done fighting. I want to settle everything. I'll plead guilty to all charges. Drop all my false claims, pay the HOA judgment, and give testimony against the person who's been helping me forge documents and file false reports. All I ask is that you agree to drop the $5 million civil suit. I can't pay that. It will destroy what little I have left. I know. I've done terrible things. I know I've hurt you and your family. I'm sorry. Please consider this offer. Sincerely, Karen Mitchell." I stared at the letter in disbelief. Was this real? Was Karen actually admitting defeat? Or was this another manipulation? Another tactic? I immediately called Patricia and read her the letter. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. "Patricia, what do you think?" "I think," Patricia said slowly, "that Karen just revealed something very important. She mentioned someone who's been helping her. Someone forging documents and filing false reports. We never proved that conclusively, though Tom suspected it. If Karen is willing to testify against this accomplice, that's huge. But Barbara, you need to decide if you're willing to drop the civil suit in exchange for the truth." "What would you do?" I asked. "Honestly, I'd consider it," Patricia admitted. $5 million sounds impressive, but collecting a judgment from Karen would be nearly impossible. She's broke, she's going to prison, and she'll probably file bankruptcy again. But if she gives us information about her accomplice, we could potentially stop this person from helping other scammers. It might prevent future victims. That's worth more than money we'd never collect anyway. I thought about all the other HOA presidents, property managers, and community leaders who had suffered because of Karen. I thought about the 6 people who had contacted me after seeing my website. I thought about preventing this from happening to someone else. "Schedule a meeting," I told Patricia. "Let's hear what she has to say. But I'm not agreeing to anything until I know she's telling the truth and her information is
Deploy
valuable."
every asset to track
The
those
meeting was
accounts
arranged for the
immediately.
following week. It would take place at the county jail with Karen, her public defender, Patricia, the FBI agents, and me. I was nervous about seeing Karen face to face after everything she'd done. But I was also curious. Who had been helping her? How deep did this scam network go? The night before the meeting, I couldn't sleep. Mark found me sitting at the kitchen table at 2
I regret
a.m.,
it.
staring at Karen's
You are
letter.
in prison now. What can
"You
we
okay?"
do?
he asked, sitting down beside me. "I keep thinking about what she wrote," I said. "That she's sorry. That she wants to make things right. Part of me wants to believe her, but part of me thinks this is just another manipulation." "Then trust your instincts," Mark said. "You've been right about Karen from the beginning. Don't let her play on your sympathy now. Go to the meeting, listen to what she has
What
to
happened
say,
in that back
but
room
make
was
your decision
illegal.
based on
They
facts,
threatened my client if
not
she
emotions."
didn't comply.
He was
That's
right.
exactly right.
I needed to stay focused on the facts, on protecting my community and preventing future victims. Whatever Karen had to tell us, I would evaluate it carefully before making any decisions. As I finally went to bed that night, I had no idea that Karen's revelation would lead us to something much bigger than a simple HOA scam. What she was about to tell us would expose a network of fraud that spanned multiple states and involved people I never would have suspected, and it would require me to use the most surprising tactic of all. Would you trust someone who had lied to you repeatedly if they suddenly claimed they wanted to make things right? How do you know when someone's apology is genuine versus just another manipulation? Share your thoughts in the comments. The county jail conference room was cold and sterile, with fluorescent lights humming overhead. I sat between Patricia and Agent Chen, my hands folded on the metal table, waiting. Agent Torres stood by the door. Karen's public defender, a young man named Marcus Webb, reviewed his notes nervously, and then the door opened, and Karen Mitchell was led in wearing an orange jumpsuit and handcuffs. She looked different, smaller, somehow. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, no makeup, dark circles under her eyes. This wasn't the smug, confident woman who had stood in front of the HOA meeting 4 months ago threatening me. This was someone who looked defeated. Karen sat down across from me and met my eyes. For a moment, neither of us spoke. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly. "I know you have no reason to listen." Patricia leaned forward. "Senora Mitchell, anything you say can be used in court. Your attorney has advised you, correct?" Marcus Webb nodded. "She understands." Agent Torres activated a recording device. "Mrs. Mitchell, please state why we're here." Karen took a deep breath. "I'm here to tell you about Douglas Chen. He's the person who's been helping me for 8 years. He's a paralegal, a document forger, and the architect behind the entire scam operation. And he's Barbara's cousin." The room went silent. I felt punched. "What? I don't have a cousin named Douglas." Karen looked up. "Douglas is your second cousin? Your father's cousin's son. He reached out 8 years ago after my first HOA settlement in Colorado. He'd read about it and thought we could partner. He provides legal expertise, forged documents, strategy. I execute the scams. We split settlements 60-40, with him getting the larger share." Patricia's eyes narrowed. "Why are you telling us this now?" "Because
this isn't how
he
things
abandoned
work.
me,"
Be careful
Karen
what you
said,
do.
voice breaking.
I didn't
"The
do
moment I was
anything."
arrested, he disappeared, changed his number. Closed emails, deleted everything. He took money from our last 3 operations and left me to face charges alone." Agent Chen pulled out a file. "We've been investigating Douglas Chen for 6 months. We had no idea he was connected to you. If you can provide evidence, this could build our case against him."
That is completely unacceptable.
My head was spinning.
You need to retract that
Why me?
statement immediately.
Why my
I am
community?
Not retracting
Karen looked at
anything.
me with
you
regret.
Are completely out of line
That's
here.
the sick part. He specifically chose your neighborhood because of the family connection. He thought it would be ironic. He researched your HOA, found out you were president, and told me it would be the perfect target. He said you were a teacher, that you'd settle rather than fight. He was wrong. Rage burned through me. This man had deliberately orchestrated an attack on me and my family for profit. "What evidence do you have?" Patricia asked. Karen looked at her attorney, who nodded. "I have emails going back 8 years. He was careful, used encrypted services, but I kept backup copies on a thumb drive he doesn't know about. I have recordings of our phone conversations where he coached me. I have bank records showing transfers between us. I have everything, Agent Torres spoke up. Where is this thumb drive? Safety deposit box at First National Bank, downtown. Box number 347. The key is in my personal belongings, seized when I was arrested. Agent Chen and Agent Torres exchanged glances. This was bigger than anticipated. Patricia addressed Karen. In exchange for this evidence and testimony, you want Barbara to drop the $5 million civil suit. Correct. Yes, Karen said. I know I can't undo the damage. I'm going to prison, but that civil suit would destroy what little I have left. Douglas has millions from this operation. If you go after him, you'll get real justice and compensation. I looked at Patricia. She gave me a slight nod. I thought about everything Karen had done. Part of me wanted maximum consequences, but another part saw an opportunity. If Karen's information could stop Douglas and prevent future victims, wasn't that more valuable? I want to see the evidence first. Primera sa, eat firmly. If it's as comprehensive as you claim, and if it leads to Douglas's arrest, I'll consider dropping the civil suit. But you plead guilty to all charges. You serve your time. You make restitution to every HOA you scammed, and you never do this again. Karen nodded, tears streaming. Agreed. Agreed. Thank you, Barbara. The meeting ended with agents arranging to retrieve the thumb drive. Patricia and I left together. That was unexpected, Patricia said. Your second cousin. I can't believe someone in my family would do this, I said. You process it by stopping him, Patricia replied. This is your chance to end this permanently. 2 days later, the FBI confirmed Karen's thumb drive contained everything she'd promised. Hundreds of emails, recorded calls, financial records showing money laundering, evidence of 34 separate HOA scams across 12 states.
The codes were compromised then.
Agent Chen called me. Ms.
Deploy
Chen,
every asset
we're
to
moving
track those
forward with
accounts
federal
immediately.
charges against Douglas Chen. We'll need you to testify. Of course, I said. Douglas has been located in Seattle under a false identity. We're coordinating his arrest. When they arrested Douglas 3 days later, I watched the news coverage with Mark and the kids. They showed footage of a well-dressed man in his late 40s being led out of a luxury apartment building in handcuffs.
I regret it.
The reporters confirmed his
You are in
identity and
prison
his
now. What
connection
can
to
we
the
do?
massive fraud scheme spanning multiple states. That man targeted us because we're related, Emma asked, disbelief in her voice. That's insane. How could someone do that to family? Some people prioritize money over everything else, I explained. Over family, over ethics, over basic human decency. Douglas chose greed over doing what's right, but he's going to face consequences.
They threatened
The
my
justice
client if she
system
didn't comply.
is going to hold him accountable for
That's
years
exactly
of
right.
hurting innocent people. The trial took place 6 months later. Karen pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit fraud, filing false police reports, and multiple counts of civil rights violations. She received a sentence of 7 years in federal prison and was ordered to pay restitution to all her victims. The judge praised her cooperation in bringing down Douglas. Chen but made it clear that her crimes had seriously harmed many families and that cooperation didn't erase the damage she'd caused. Douglas's trial was more complex and lasted 3 weeks. His attorneys tried to claim he'd merely provided legal advice and had no knowledge of Karen's illegal activities. But the evidence was overwhelming and irrefutable. The emails showed him orchestrating every detail of the scams, planning strategies, and celebrating successful settlements. The recordings captured him coaching Karen on exactly how to forge documents and manipulate HOA boards. The financial records proved he'd profited enormously from the fraud, living a luxury lifestyle funded by the suffering of ordinary families. I testified for 3 hours, describing everything Karen had done to me and my family, and explaining how Douglas's detailed playbook had been behind every single tactic. The defense attorney tried to discredit me, suggesting I was biased because of the family connection and had a personal vendetta. But Patricia had prepared me thoroughly, and I stuck to the facts, presented the documented evidence, and remained calm under cross-examination. The jury deliberated for 2 days. When they returned, the verdict was guilty on all counts. Douglas was sentenced to 15 years in federal prison and ordered to pay $23 million. in restitution to his victims, including $175,000 to our HOA for the costs we'd incurred fighting Karen. The judge called his crimes a calculated exploitation of community trust and family connections for personal enrichment. The day the verdict was announced, our neighborhood threw a celebration at the community center. Over 100 residents showed up, many bringing food and drinks. They presented me with a plaque that read, "Barbara Chen, HOA President." She stood up, spoke out, and protected our community. "Thank you," I cried reading it. Michelle hugged me. David shook my hand. Robert raised a glass and a toast to Barbara, who showed us that doing the right thing matters, even when it's hard. My family stood beside me, all of us together, all of us having survived this ordeal. Mark put his arm around my shoulders. "You did it," he whispered. "You actually did it." "We did it," I corrected.
This isn't
I couldn't
how
have done
things
this without
work.
you,
Be careful
without the
what
board,
you do.
without Patria and Tom,
didn't do
without
anything.
everyone who believed in me when Karen was trying to destroy my reputation. The celebration continued late into the evening. Neighbors who had doubted me during Karen's media campaign apologized. Parents from school congratulated me. My students had made a banner that said "Mrs. Chen is a hero," which embarrassed me but also made me incredibly proud. In the
That is
aftermath of the
completely
trial, I
unacceptable.
made the
You need
decision
to
to step
retract that
down as
statement
HOA
immediately.
president.
I am
I'd
not
served for 4
retracting
years,
anything. You are
3 of which
completely
had
out
been
of line
peaceful
here.
and productive. The 4th had been consumed by this battle. It was time for someone else to lead. David was elected as my replacement, and I happily served on the board as a regular member. The weight of leadership lifted, and I could focus on teaching, on my family, and on healing from the trauma of the past year. The website I'd created about Karen's scams received over 50,000 visits in the months following the trial. I updated it with information about Douglas's conviction and added resources for HOA leaders dealing with similar situations. Several law schools requested permission to use our case as a teaching example of successful civil fraud prosecution. I was interviewed by a national news magazine about the experience. When the reporter asked me what I'd learned, I thought carefully before answering. "I learned that bullies count on people being afraid to fight back," I said. "They count on us being too tired, too scared, too worried about the cost and the stress. But I also learned that when you stand up for what's right, when you refuse to back down, and when you build a strong support system, you can win. Not every time, and not without scars. But you can win." The reporter asked if I regretted agreeing to drop the civil suit against Karen in exchange for her testimony against Douglas. "No," I said. Honestly, that $5 million would have meant nothing if Karen couldn't pay it, but her testimony put a major criminal behind bars and stopped an operation that had hurt dozens of families. That's worth more than money I'd never collect. That's real justice. A year after the trial ended, I received a letter from Karen. She was in federal prison in Oklahoma, serving her sentence. The letter was short and handwritten. "Barbara, I don't expect forgiveness, and I'm not asking for it. I'm writing to tell you that I'm working with the FBI's fraud task force, providing information about other scammers I encountered over the years. I'm trying to do something positive with my knowledge of these operations. I know it doesn't undo the harm I caused you and your family, but I want you to know I'm trying to make things right in the only way I can now. I'm also in therapy, working to understand why I became the person who could hurt people the way I did. I hope you and your family are healing. You deserved better than what I put you through. Respectfully, Karen." I showed the letter to Mark. "What do you think?" "I think people can change," he said. "I think she's probably sincere. But I also think you don't owe her anything. Not even a response." He was right. I filed the letter away and moved on with my life. 3 years after everything began, Riverside Meadows was thriving. Property
Footage
values
confirms the
had
exchange
increased.
at 0400
New
hours.
families
The
were
codes were
moving in.
compromised then.
The community
That's
had weathered a
unacceptable.
storm
Deploy
and
every
come out
asset to track
stronger.
those accounts immediately.
The story of our battle with Karen and Douglas had even attracted positive attention, with potential buyers seeing our HOA as one that stood up for its residents and took governance seriously. I was still teaching, still loved my job, still enjoyed working with teenagers in helping them understand history and civic responsibility. Emma was in college, studying criminal justice and wanting to become a prosecutor
I regret
after seeing
it.
what our legal system could
You are in
accomplish
prison now.
when
What
people
can we
fought for
do?
justice. Jake was in high school, captain of the debate team, and talking about becoming a civil rights attorney. My kids had learned from this experience that standing up to injustice matters, that ordinary people can make a difference, that the system, while imperfect, can work when good people engage with it. As for me, I learned that I was stronger than I'd ever imagined, that I could face threats,
happened in that back room
harassment,
was illegal.
false
They
accusations,
threatened my
and a
client if she
coordinated
didn't
campaign
comply.
to destroy me
That's
and still
exactly
come
right.
out the other side intact. That surprising tactics, creative thinking, and refusing to give up could overcome even a professional scammer with years of experience. But most importantly, I learned that doing the right thing isn't about being fearless. It's about being afraid and doing it anyway. It's about protecting your community, supporting your family, and refusing to let bullies win. Would I have chosen to go through this experience? No. It was painful, stressful, and at times terrifying. But I'm proud of how we handled it. I'm proud of my family, my board, my attorney, and everyone who stood with me. And I'm grateful that our story might help other communities facing similar situations. The HOA recently voted to name the Community Center meeting room the Barbara Chun Leadership Room in recognition of my service during those difficult years. I tried to decline the honor, but the board insisted. So now, whenever I attend meetings in that room, I'm reminded that standing up for what's right matters, that courage isn't the absence of fear, but action despite it, and that ordinary people can accomplish extraordinary things when they refuse to back down. Karen and Douglas are in prison. The scam operation is shut down. Other victims received restitution. My family is safe and thriving. Justice was served, and that, finally, is the end of this chapter of our lives. The surprising tactics worked. We fought back. And we won. Thank you for following this journey with me. If you've ever faced a bully, a scammer, or someone who tried to intimidate you into backing down, I hope my story gives you courage. You're stronger than you think, and you're not alone. Stand up, speak out, and fight for what's right. It's worth it.